They say the river only glows once every century. But the night Elias saw it shimmer with gold, it called him by name. That's where this story begins, with a man who had nothing left to lose, and a river that was never meant to speak, the river that remembered his desire. Elias Calder was a 32-year-old woodcarver living on the outskirts of Bracken Hollow, a forgotten town tucked between endless pines and a river the locals whispered about but avoided after dark. The year was 1894, an era of lantern light, unspoken superstitions, and quiet desperation. Elias had spent his life fighting poverty, watching his father die drowning in debt and his mother lose her sight from illness. He carried a bitterness that clung to him like the pine smoke in his clothes, a fierce desire to rise above the curse of lack, even if he didn't believe in curses. But the town did. They believed the Bracken River was alive, and that every soul who followed its whispers was changed forever. Elias didn't believe in whispers. Not until the night they called out to him, the omen in the water. It began with a dream. He stood at the riverbank, moonless night around him, listening to water that didn't sound like water. It spoke, not in words, but in a churning melodic hum that vibrated through bone. When he looked down, the river reflected not his face, but a golden sigil pulsing like a heartbeat. He woke drenched in sweat, heart pounding. The next day, while carving wood for a client, the same sigil appeared in the wood grain, perfectly symmetrical, impossibly precise. He blinked, looked again, and it was gone. Over the next week, signs followed him everywhere. Coins he found in the dirt stamped with symbols no men had ever made. A crow landing on his windowsill every morning at the same hour. His dreams repeating the river's golden light, and strangers in town glancing at him as if they knew something he didn't. By the seventh day, Elias couldn't ignore it. Desire pulled at him, not greed, but the hunger to know why he was being called. So he followed the pull back to the river at midnight, the test of desire. The river was still until he stepped closer. Then it glowed, soft gold and impossibly warm. Mist curled around his ankles, forming shapes like faces, watching him with neither malice nor mercy. A voice, not heard, but felt, rose from the water. What would you trade to change your fate? Elias froze. He had no wealth, no power, nothing to bargain with, except, "My desire," he whispered, "my will to rise." The golden water surged upward, swirling around him, showing visions. Elias standing in a mansion, wealthy beyond measure. Elias alone, aged, surrounded by riches but no warmth. Elias lifting others from poverty, becoming a legend. Elias corrupted, devoured by his own ambition. For destinies, different, conflicting, each tied to a different version of himself. Then the river pulled him under. The descent into truth. The water wasn't cold. It was memory. He sank through images he never lived, but somehow recognized. His father kneeling before the same river 30 years earlier. His mother turning away from a similar calling. Generations before him receiving the same invitation and choosing differently. Elias was not the first Calder to stand at the river. A lineage of desire. A lineage of tests. A lineage of those who either rose or fell. At the bottom of the river, he saw the truth. Prosperity was never about wealth. It was about who he would become to reach it. The river didn't offer gold. It amplified what was already inside. And inside Elias, there was a storm, the destiny he did not expect. Suddenly, he was spit back onto the riverbank, gasping. The glow vanished. The night returned to silence. But something had changed. The next morning, Elias discovered that every piece of what he touched carved itself under his hands, effortless, perfect, intricate beyond any human skill. Within weeks, aristocrats traveled miles to buy his work. His name spread through cities he'd never seen. Prosperity came swiftly, but so did the price. The crow that once visited daily now perched on his workshop beam, watching every decision he made, its eyes shifting from black to gold when he strayed too close to greed. If he overcharged a widow, the river appeared in his dreams again, darker this time. If he lied about his work, the sigil etched itself into his wall. If he let arrogance touch his tongue, The crow cawed in a way that made his bones tremble. Prosperity wasn't free. It required alignment with destiny. A razor-thin balance between desire and corruption. The final revelation. Years later, Elias became wealthy. Not excessively, not greedily, but enough to live without fear. Enough to help others. Enough to rewrite the story of the Calder lineage. One night, when he was 60 years old, the river called again. Soft, gentle, no golden glow, just a whisper. You chose well. The crow, now old and missing feathers, bowed its head. The sigil in his dreams faded. The river receded into legend once more. And Elias understood. The greatest prosperity wasn't the wealth he gained, but the man he became while seeking it. His story spread through Bracken Hollow like a sacred tale, shared in hushed voices by lantern light. No one knew if it was real, but the river hadn't glowed since. And some nights, just some, if you listen closely, the water still hums with the desire of those who seek their destiny.